With the advent of the Toyota Rush, people have seemed to have forgotten about the original Toyota 7-seat MPV, which is pretty high off the ground, which is this, the Avanza. Thankfully, they have given it a new, fresh look. So we're here to find out if it's actually a good buy. So what exactly is new? As I mentioned, the hood is new in order to accommodate these new headlights, which takes a page from the Velfire, which is sold in Japan and Hong Kong and other countries. Now, this stacked headlight look is something pretty different for the Avanza and certainly makes it look a little more bold and aggressive. And making it more bold and aggressive is this new huge grille, which goes all the way down right up to this part of the bumper. And adding a bit more aggression to the Avanza are these defined corners of the bumper. They even bothered to change the location of the fog lights and the fog light housings. However, when you walk towards the rest of the car's body, you'll see that it's largely a carryover. The doors are the same, windows, dimensions, and all that. When you go to the back, yeah, it looks similar, although they did add a garnish to make it look like it has L-shaped taillights. Other than that, this is the same old Avanza from last year. Well, except for this front end. Whereas the exterior gets dramatic changes, inside, well, it's kind of more of the same from last year's model. You do get an updated and upgraded infotainment screen, and that's pretty much it. Although, in this particular variant, you do get digital air conditioning. It's not the rotary dials anymore. It's not exactly automatic climate control either. It's simply just air conditioning with buttons. Well, as for the rest of the interior, well, you still don't get a telescopic steering wheel, and you have the steering wheel sort of at an angle, so you're given the impression that you're driving a bus, albeit a very, very small one. You do get new seat trims, and I also like the fact that there's an air conditioning vent up here. It keeps the air circulating around, and just so everyone doesn't get stuffy inside the cabin. So what's life like back here at the Avanza? Well, I have to say, and this is from experience, the Vios has slightly more legroom. I mean, yeah, you could slide these seats backward and forward, but this is already in its most rearward position. Now, also this is in my driving position, so if someone taller than me is seated in front, well, I have to say the legroom's probably going to move out, well, about here, which you'll actually find out. Yep, actually, yeah, the Vios does have better legroom if someone tall is seated in front. Okay, so legroom isn't the best, but there are good points here nonetheless. You get a blower, and you also get a charging point down there. And I say that's a good thing, so nobody has to have a really, really long cable in order to charge, or no one's gonna fight over charging ports anymore. Now, you're probably considering an Avanza because it's a 7-seater, so let's hop at the back then. Ladies and gentlemen, as you could see, my knees are already touching the backrests of the second row. Granted, the second row is already pushed all the way back, and if you push it a little bit more forward, it's going to be a little more bearable. But really, these seats are best for adults even smaller than me or children. Thankfully, there are cup holders here and cubby holders, so I guess it's not all that bad. Now onto the matter of cargo space, and typical of any 3-row MPV or crossover SUV, there isn't much left behind the third row seats. However, when you do fold the seats forward, well, things are a little bit better. The Avanza's cargo floor is low, flat, and wide, meaning you can actually haul a lot of stuff inside, provided you're carrying along 4 extra passengers and not 6. So what's good about the Avanza? Well, I like the fact that it has huge windows, so all-round visibility is pretty good, and it kind of makes up for the fact that it doesn't come with reverse sensors or a reverse camera. Another thing I can appreciate with the Avanza is the high seating position. Now, it doesn't come with a seat height adjuster, but the seat bases themselves are set so high that looking ahead of you is no problem at all. Another good point of the Avanza is its steering. Now, not because it offers bags of feel, actually that's far from it. Instead, it has light steering, so it makes driving it a whole lot easier and a lot less truckish. Also, that light steering makes maneuvering around the city a whole lot easier, and it makes parking less of a hassle. And on to the other points of the Avanza, and well, I have to start with not so good news, because if you're looking for a comfortable ride, you're not gonna get it here. In fact, it's not even firm, it's downright stiff. Now I get it, that's for heavy duty purposes, but if you're driving this thing alone most of the time, you're gonna feel every bump and pothole on the road when you're driving this car. Also, brakes aren't exactly its strongest point, although I'm not exactly sure if it's just this particular test unit. My experience so far with this is, well, it's devoid of any feel or feedback, and even if you're pressing the brake pedal about halfway through, it doesn't really bite immediately. Another thing the Avanza needs improvement on is noise isolation. Now, I'm not even stepping on the gas pedal that hard, but I can already hear the engine making a bit of a noise, and when you're upshifting, you can hear the transmission whine. What this car needs is heaps and heaps of sound deadening material, but then again, if you do that, we'll get to the other point, which is performance. So no, the Avanza isn't comfortable in any way, shape, or form, but I think it makes up for it when it comes to toughness, which we just demonstrated there. The thing feels absolutely robust, and even if we're running through roads like this and a road that's more suited for an off-roader, the Avanza's shrugging it off. Now, you're not exactly going to be comfortable doing it, and you're going to bounce around all over the place, but the Avanza is actually taking it in stride. Oh, now on to performance. The Avanza was never made to do any speed records or speed runs, so don't expect much from its 1.5-liter engine with just a little over 100 horsepower. It's also saddled by a 4-speed automatic transmission, so don't expect quick off-the-line acceleration. Instead, what you do get is somewhat reasonable economy. I could tell you the exact numbers. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with a fuel economy average readout, but since we got it, we've traveled over 100 kilometers with it and lost about 2 to 3 bars of fuel in its gauges. So we reckon it's doing about 8 to 9 kilometers per liter, and most of those kilometers were in very, very heavy traffic. Perhaps I'm just not the target demographic of the Avanza. I find the ride too stiff, the steering position too weird, and performance, well, a little bit lacking. However, there are people who do swear by the Avanza, and I reckon it's for people who demand a tough 7-seat MPV who use it for both business and family. Now, all in all, the Avanza's not a bad car if you are that kind of person. If you're looking for a little more refinement, I suggest you shop somewhere else. But again, if you're looking for something robust and tough, I say the Avanza is actually a good buy. However, at 1 million pesos exactly, this 1.5G isn't exactly what I would call a bargain. Personally, I would rather go for the 1.3E with a manual transmission. That way, it may be a smaller engine, but at least you have more control over it. And also, it's more than 100,000 pesos cheaper. So I say it all stacks up. Sure, you don't get some of the appearance upgrades such as these lovely alloy wheels, but again, you're saving more than 120,000 pesos. Now the question is, would you get a rush over this? Well, that all depends on your bank account.